I'm still Jared Wynn, just like I was before. I promise. Swear to God. Joining me, Stephen Broken Water Main.
Are you cutting your arm off?
No, that was like my promise.
I swear on my arm.
Yeah, I swear on my arm.
I've never seen that before.
I swear on my capillaries. Stephen Broken Water Main, Keith the unknown factor.
He's just the unknown factor.
You're the same Jared Wynn.
No, he is the unknown factor, Mitchell. I am. Trust me. I'll prove it to you later. And Bianca Danielle, joining us to talk League of Legends. Again, I'm just so excited to have you all here. I really am. I cannot express my excitement. So rather than doing that, I'm going to move on and get right into the show. Fnatic, just talked to Richard about that. They are now 14-0. Did you know that's a record? Did you know that's a record? Did you know?
Yep.
C9 falls just like they are in the NALCS.
Yeah, or in every capacity, really.
Well, yeah.
There's no way in which C9 is not falling at the moment. Fnatic now 14-0.
The
with,
best.
Some wins. They beat Origin Friday. That seemed to be their big test.
And H2K
in the split.
on
Yeah,
Thursday.
Pretty much their only competition.
We talked about that, though. We talked about H2K's win. Didn't talk about Origin. We
Doesn't
have,
mean
I believe, a little clip
it, yeah.
of Fnatic doing their thing, actually, don't we? Don't we, Keith? I think we do.
We do, in fact.
It should be somewhere in the computer. if the Mr. Computer can help us out with the big clip of Fnatic winning. I guess before we get to that, we should just kind of break down Fnatic's win over Origin verbally, how they managed to put that together, how they bettered Origin. What did they do?
They had an extremely shaky start.
Yep.
In Origin, there were, I wouldn't call them throws because they were more like, successive plays by both teams that like swung the game back and forth over and over, especially with a lot of like Mithy on Nautilus made a bunch of plays I didn't really agree with.
So it's like playing elimination, basically?
A bunch of plays. Plays in quotation marks.
Right.
Big
they were
LCS big plays.
Technically plays. They're still plays, even if you make them very poorly, I think. Yeah, even if you make them like elimination does.
Man,
they're still plays.
I make some great plays then.
Yeah, well, they managed to
lots of plays.
Constant
stop
plays,
throwing.
really.
They did eventually stop throwing, right?
Yeah, they actually had a really good turnaround at Inhibitor at about, was that 25, 30
Oh,
minutes?
what do you know?
34 or something like that. Looks like it says 34.
And like Origin actually had a really good beat on the game, but Soaz moved way too far forward and took pressure off his team. And then Amazing decided to stay in way too late. You see Soaz being dropped down to half, and then Amazing decides to fight Nunu for a bit too long. And suddenly they can pick everyone off. And Fnatic does that thing where they're like, we're not winning anymore. And suddenly they're 20 times better.
Yeah.
And you see Fabiven like basically take down two people mid lane, while Yellowstar does an amazing flash Q to bring the whole thing together. And suddenly Origin loses. That's like one moment, and the entire game is gone.
Yeah.
The entire game was lost because Soaz moved slightly forward and lost 3/4 of his health to Victor Burst. It's not even like, that's not even funny. That's just Fnatic.
And Fnatic will punish you like that.
Yeah.
Plus, I've said it before, Yellowstar, the only exciting Janna in the world. I will never be excited to see Janna drafted unless Yellowstar's playing. And if Fnatic's playing, Janna all day.
I'll still fight
watch
for
that.
Lust Boys Janna after those flashes into Blitzcrank hooks, but that's a different.
Yeah, I mean, that's a different kind of excitement, I suppose. That's a different kind of entertainment. Yellowstars is more like they go in the Dragon Pit and then hit R and just, do sick things. Like, no one else gets LCS big plays like Yellowstar on Janna.
And Yellowstar, we were talking about, I think it was last week, players who have like careers that are as good as Xpeke. And then we were talking about this on Sunday, actually, that Yellowstar is probably one of the only other people, along with Faker. And that's about the end of the list of like people who have as prestigious of an entire career. Yellowstar has been on Fnatic for as long as Fnatic has been Fnatic.
Yeah, that prestigious and that long as well. Like
Yeah.
A lengthy and prestigious career.
Yep, world champ as well.
So Fnatic now being the record holders for win streaks in LCS. They are, by win streak count, the best LCS team ever. We'll see if that actually holds up in the playoffs. And then when Worlds comes around, let's go kind of big picture here. What has made this team, this Fnatic squad, the best team when it comes to winning games consecutively?
I think one of the big things that you have to look at is just, their ability to close out games when they get the opportunity to. And it's like, even when they're behind, if they're given any chance to, step up, take the lead, win one team fight, and then they just, whenever they get that chance, they always just finish the game.
That's what I always find most disgusting and scary about Fnatic is that they never roll over. There's never a point where you see Fnatic say, well, let's play passive and sit back and just what happens. And you see other teams do that. They say, let's look for openings, but let's not get crazy with it. And then you see Fnatic, their own inhibitors being taken, and 3 people run forward to hit a full health rise. Like, that's not the behavior of a losing team. That's the behavior of a team that thinks they're winning and wants to prove it. And they always want to prove that they're winning. And that's like, that doesn't seem like a trait that I would put on a winning team, but it's sure working for them.
Yeah, their team fighting is really on a completely different level to any other LCS team right now.
Apparently, if they're going 14-0.
It's hard to prove Fnatic wrong when they say they're winning. Like they usually end up being proven right when they say they're winning. Yeah, I think Richard and I talked about this actually. We have a chance to see at the end of the split, the last game for Fnatic at 17-0 versus Unicorns of Love, the ultimate opponent when you have perfection on the line, the craziest, most difficult to predict team in LCS. It would be the perfect, a finals rematch, in fact, a rematch from last playoff finals, and having that just as the last game would be splendiferous. I would so enjoy it. I would really like that.
Well, it looks like it's about to happen because now that they've finished with H2K and Origin, I'm not sure who they drop to, especially if they keep playing like they do.
Elements and Rollcat, it's not really SK Gaming. It's not really.
Even if another team shows up, who's gonna can they really be?
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if they can go the entire playoffs without dropping a single map, because that's what we saw SKT do the season following their world championship in season 3. So. And it's funny because at the same time that Fnatic is doing what they're doing, SKT is doing the same thing that Fnatic is doing, except over in Korea. So I want to see if Fnatic can go the whole season, all of the regular season, and all of the playoffs, the best of 3s, the best of 5s, and never drop a single map.
It would be a hype game if we saw SKT and Fnatic rematch, with both teams having gone completely undefeated going into Worlds.
Haven't lost a game since MSI.
Of course,
both
that would
of
also
them.
mean
a series.
That would also mean going through Worlds groups without losing a game should be difficult as well.
That would be a little bit more
for Fnatic,
rickety.
especially.
I mean, they could end up in the same group, right?
Yeah, they could also. That would also make it difficult. I don't know if
No. If they both win their region,
the
they
pots would be
won't.
split, so they wouldn't be able to go like that.
That's
so we'll
true.
see. Again, Fnatic Unicorns, week 9, day 2. It's my date. My date with the.
They're gonna pull the New York Giants versus New England Patriots.
Yeah.
18-1.
Yeah, very good. Unicorns, by the way, they're making a replacement here. They're bringing in Dan. It's been said that part of the reason why this team was so chaotic at times was because they had apparently some communication issues. And Monte Cristo made fun of the team. He's like, oh, that explains a lot. You're so fucking stupid when you play the game because you can't communicate correctly.
That's about the tone I got from Monte Cristo as well.
Yeah,
about that.
I got the same.
I'm right. All of you are wrong.
He read it in a slightly higher pitched voice, while kind of moving his hands around at the same
time.
Yeah. Ooh, no communication issues.
Yeah, that's it. That's how Monte Cristo would probably do it as well.
That's how he does it. That's how he casts.
And in a rainbow suit.
We should give that a shot sometime.
Yeah, you should, Keith. It'd be good
Absolutely.
for you. More gesticulation. So
I think Keith kind of looks like Monte Cristo, actually.
I could pull it off. My Monte Cristo cosplay.
Yeah, like if you were like for a Halloween costume, if he was gonna dress up as Monte Cristo, like
I just need the train whistle and the SKT hat, and I'm set.
And the Renegades bandana.
That's true.
You need the bandana.
Yeah,
I'm not sure I could make that work, but.
And you just you have to speak in only like buzzwords. I think that's what him and Double Lift have in common, is they just like speak in these buzzwords that like no one really actually knows what they mean, but like when they say them, it sounds really smart. Like their auto spacing and their rotations and their macro play. Like what the hell is a macro play? Like I understand the concept, but it's like, isn't macro play just like a whole nother word for like rotations?
Here on the loadout, Stephen Main breaks down Monte Cristo's analysis of League of Legends.
Yes, I'm analyzing Monte Cristo's analysis.
Stay tuned for more great analysis from us. Let's move on now. I think it's a good time to move on actually before we get too far down this road.
Really?
Yeah,
you don't want to talk more about Monte Cristo?
I think it is. Bianca, did you know Gravity is the #1 team in North America today?
I did know, but I was not expecting it.
I don't think anyone was really expecting that. I was not expecting it. Perhaps Keen was. Perhaps Cop was. Perhaps St. Vicious wasn't. Maybe?
I was honestly thinking TSM would take first, but it seems like all of LCS is being turned on its heads with TSM and CLG and C9 all
we expected the CLG Dignitas throw, but I had no idea that the TSM would do what they're doing right now.
TSM's making it really clear they don't really care. I don't know if that's
they're very upfront about the fact that they don't care about winning
anymore. I don't know,
anymore.
though, if that's like a really legit thing, if they like are really being that experimental, or if they just kind of are playing poorly at times, like, we're just experimenting.
It's
Don't worry-
fine.
don't worry
It's
about
cool,
it.
guys.
Okay.
I hope
Alright.
for America's sake that they're sandbagging, but when you look at their play, like Bjergsen really is picking supportive mid laners, and it feels like they're trying to make teams to help Wild Turtle step up, and they're trying to work on him as opposed to, play their usual style of Bjergsen carry, especially in the last 2
But
weeks.
it's team
But at the
solo
same time,
mid.
I'm not sure you can do that right before Worlds and expect there to not be a negative blowback on your team.
Yeah, okay, but here's the thing. There's a difference between a negative blowback against Team Liquid and Team 8. So if you're dropping games against Team Liquid, maybe that's forgivable.
But teammate, that was sloppy.
But
Like, that
losing
in
a game
general was
against Team
sloppy.
8, you should feel worried. You should feel nervous because if these experimental comps, okay, we understand they're not going to be perfectly polished, all right? But if they're experimenting and they can't beat Team 8, then they're in some trouble.
Experimental would be like no damage on the team, basically.
Yeah.
Some strange drafts.
Yeah,
as
The
well.
turtle
Exactly.
till 55-minute strategy.
Like picking a terrible team comp in draft is not an experiment that I think anybody should go under. Like just voluntarily picking a bad pick. They had 0 damage on that team. They had their team comp was let's rely on Wild Turtle to carry us to victory. Jinx being the only main damage dealer. Orianna like kind of deals
But then
damage.
Then
Like
they
very
played aggressive with Jinx early on, which was even more baffling because it's like, here's a protect the Jinx, but that isn't really protect the Jinx. So we're not giving any protection to the protect the Jinx comp. And now go for it, Jinx. Win the game.
Well, I am shocked that Wild Turtle will play Jinx aggressively, even in a comp where they need to be protected. that is just surprising to me.
And Wild Turtle actually didn't play that poorly that game.
No, he didn't.
I think we were all pretty impressed with the way that he played. We think of Wild Turtle, and Keith and I were having a big discussion about whether or not we think Jinx is a good pick for Wild Turtle.
I like the fact that he can stay aggressive without being punished too much. Because no matter what, the one thing we know about Wild Turtle is that he's going to harass and that he's going to attempt to get kills on any low health character, regardless of what that means.
Particularly late in team fights.
If you're going to keep those bad quirks, you might as well go for Jinx because she's a character who rewards both of those things.
Wait, if he has so many bad quirks, wouldn't you want him to pick Quirky?
Thanks, Freak. I appreciate that.
That was great. Yeah, a very freak level joke. So far you did a freak joke and you criticized Monte Cristo's casting.
I think I'm having a pretty good
You could
show.
not be more reviled than you likely are right now. And that's okay.
You put me on the desk and I just get this surge of power.
He's
Standing
drunk
over here.
on his desk power.
We have a strong line of separation right about this part of the table right here.
Watch out, Jared.
So Gravity, I mentioned Gravity before. I did, and we kind of got off track talking about TSM having some issues with their compositions and winning games and losing games.
Yep.
Gravity is again the #1 team in North America with only 2 weeks left to go. That's not like a fluke. That's just solid play over the course of an entire split. They beat C9 Enemy. I believe we have a clip, in fact, of them beating Cloud9 for you to indulge yourself in. Cloud9 making a questionable foray into the river here on the Baron side. Little bit odd, maybe kind of venturing where you shouldn't go, and we saw Gravity taking swift advantage of that exact thing.
Yeah, and really what this fight came down to, I thought, was Sneaky pretty much lost a 1v1 against Alltech, except it wasn't really a 1v1 because of the presence of Shin, and just the team composition that Gravity has put together is just really set up for this type of team fight, and really the only thing that C9 has in their favor is they have the Rumble, the equalizer, and it was a very lackluster equalizer. Unfortunately, I mean, we're used to seeing really great equalizers from Balls, but it was a lackluster equalizer, and that pretty much just means a guaranteed team fight loss for C9's composition. So while I think it was a good idea, we saw C9 sort of get the drop on Gravity, just in terms of like picking the right place to fight with their team composition, it just wasn't really a good setup. And coupling that along with the fact that C9 was just behind in terms of gold and just not a lead, it's going to take the absolute perfect team fight for them to win. And Gravity just did a good job of putting C9 in their place early in that game, and that's really what it came down to.
I mean, a lot of Gravity's gold advantage early on could be attributed to 3 things. 1, move. 2, move, and 3, move. His ganks were oppressive, and his Nidalee was exactly what everyone expected it to be, and exactly the reason why it's banned almost universally in NALCS.
Yeah, we talk about Keen being such a strong player for the team and him getting banned out with a variety of champions, but I know it's important to turn the spotlight rather on other players on the team, like Move, who have played well and have kind of powered Gravity to being, again, the #1 team in North America.
I mean,
today.
usually Move plays a lot more supportive. Like he's based around gank Keen, get him kills, get Keen fed, or like let's focus on Altec today and let's make him really a powerhouse. And today we just saw, well, screw all you guys, I'm going to be the one getting kills. And he was able to chunk people in team fights. He made the back line basically too scared to go in a lot of instances. And as Nidalee, he placed so much pressure globally, like around every C9 member, that a lot of times it looked like they just weren't willing to accomplish what they were trying to accomplish. They couldn't, like, okay, let's do Dragon. Oh, we can't, though, because at any point in time he could show up and then half our team is dead and Dragon is taken.
That's a problem.
That's an issue.
Yeah, that's an issue if that happens.
And I kind of want to talk a little bit about, we're getting to the end of the season, and there's who it would be the MVP of the split. I think early on we thought it was Quas was looking really strong.
He was the early MVP.
And then
it
was shifting, and then it was like for sure Bjergsen. Like it had to be Bjergsen, right? And now we see TSM kind of faltering. Gravity's really stepped up. But I feel like the problem with that is it's very hard to pick one player on Gravity that is, the best. And that's like why Gravity has been so good this split, I feel, is because they've gotten a lot of contribution from Move. They've gotten a lot of contribution from Altec, 2 players they didn't have last split. So that's why you can attribute the new surge in
but
results.
Then also, now that Altec's in place of Maple Street, like we see Bunny Fufu really stepping up a lot more.
Cop.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I did that exact same thing. It's just like generic forgettable AD carry.
It hurts.
Sorry,
it hurts to say that, but
Sorry.
like Cop, because I'm a fan of Cop. Like I watch his stream, but at the same time, he really is like very similar in play style.
Well, but let's not undermine Cop. I mean, he's the one coaching this team, and I think it's a team that we all feel is very well coached. I think a good sign of coaching is if you're able to get the most out of what your players have. That's the goal of the coach, right? It's like you have your 5 players on the team. They all have this potential, and then you're trying to get the absolute most of it. And like when you talk about CLG, for example, you can't think of really any great coaches, and they always talk about how great their potential is on CLG, and they don't have results. And I think a lot of that can be attributed to the coaching staff.
I thought that you were a CLG fan.
Whatever.
I'm ripping them apart today.
So what you're saying is Monte Cristo's a bad coach.
Well, Monte Cristo is a face on a Skype camera.
Yes, I know. I was just giving you shit because you already attacked Monte Cristo's casting ability, so I figured his coaching ability was also being questioned by you.
I mean, Monte Cristo does a really, really bad job of jumping through the internet and becoming a physical entity on the other side of the globe.
How dare he? I bet Doa could do it better.
Yep,
He'd do
probably.
that particular thing.
I don't think I've ever
Monte
seen
Cristo.
anybody be as bad at it as Monte Cristo.
Wow, strong words. Cloud9 did actually win a game this week. I'm not sure if you guys were aware of that.
They did.
They beat Dignitas.
It was exciting.
They got ahead early. In fact, we got to a point where the game where Dignitas was able to have great initiations and just didn't mean anything. They could do anything they wanted, and Cloud9 just won because
there was
they
a
were,
point where it was
ahead.
like Charvinal into everything Diana had, into the rest of the team constantly auto-attacking, all on one good target. And I was like, this is the team fight that Dignitas is going to use to win. And it did nothing.
Isn't that the one where Rengar lived forever?
Yes, because High had his ferocity W and then 30 shields. And the karma comp happened. And
The Karma Oriana combo.
That's terrifying.
It was pretty. I wouldn't even call it good. It was just a matter of like there was
just a matter of just being that much stronger.
There was this point where Sneaky went 3-0 because he dived under turret, and Dignitas, the entirety of Dignitas's team, did not send a single auto attack or spell at him and let him get 2 kills and about 30 auto attacks off while they focused the top laner. And I was just screaming at my computer screen. Why? Why would you do this, Dignitas?
So if C9, in order for C9 to go to Worlds, say by some random chance, do they have to go to playoffs? Or do they
believe
just
so.
have to avoid relegation?
What were the qualifications to get to Worlds this year?
Well,
I know
it's a point.
first
It's a
place
point system, yeah.
in
It's the summer split
season
winner,
gets
and
it.
then the highest points getter, and then you have the next 4
Yep.
highest points getters go to a playoff for the
Final
world
spot.
Yeah.
But I think it's required for anyone in the promotion tournament or in the last chance qualifier to be a summer playoff team.
Is it
I think so.
awfully complicated? I don't know.
Even if that's not the case, then there's a lot more chances for teams. Like if C9 doesn't make it to the summer playoffs, then like there's a lot more chances for teams to pass them up in points. So
Yeah, and getting to the playoffs, you have opportunities to have an upset in the first round and then get more points that way. So obviously, getting into the playoffs would bolster their chances significantly.
Let's look into it, because if we think about the teams who are really primed for a run right now, we think pretty universally that TSM is going to get in there.
I'd put Liquid in there because like they look bad, but they don't look like they're bad players. They look like they have a hard schedule right now, and they did pretty well recently.
Yeah, so it's an interesting predicament, right? Because Gravity did Gravity make the playoffs last split?
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They did. They lost in the first round, right?
they didn't do great, but they made it. Yeah.
So I wonder if it's so for sure there's going to be TSM and Team Liquid. They're either going to take the first 2 spots or they'll be in the last chance qualifier. We have a total of 6 teams. So it needs to be 6 teams that have more points than Cloud9. So CLG has not many points at all. Cloud9 has more points than CLG right now. If CLG goes out in the first round, Cloud9 will still have more points than CLG, or it'll be tied. It's close.
But we'll have pretty much
Impulse, Team Impulse will have more points than Cloud9, most likely. But if Dignitas loses in the first round, Cloud9 will have more points than them. So, and then, so it's interesting because I think there could be a scenario where Cloud9 actually does finish in the top 6 in points because they finished so well last split. And it would just be, I don't even know if it's possible because, like I said, I think there might be a clause where you have to get to the playoffs. But if Cloud9 is in that summer promotion tournament or the last chance qualifier, I would give them a higher chance to go to Worlds than Dignitas right now.
I think it's
I
a
agree with that.
toss-up. Everyone's so inconsistent right now.
Well, Dignitas, giving Cloud9 a higher chance than Dignitas is not really saying a whole lot. They're water sliding down this. They're
doing what Dignitas does. It's like, it's a tradition at this point.
You know
I
what the
feel like
problem
half of it is Kiwi Kid and Core JJ just looking at each other and saying, well, it's always been done this way. We can't change
Bring
it
back
now.
a Zingy.
Let me tell you the problem. Yeah,
Bring Zingy.
Prince Zingy was powering Dignitas to a great start with his
You know who
One good week.
outstanding Zac play, and now they got rid of him. They brought in Helios, and the team just goes downhill.
You know
It's
who could
actually-
have gotten to Callista in the back lines of the team fights?
Zac. Yeah,
Just putting it out there.
of course he wouldn't have targeted her anyway because
Right, because
Dig was not targeting the ADC.
you're not allowed to target the ADC.
Yeah, you don't auto attack Callista when she dives into your.
That's
front
bad
line.
manners
Yeah,
right
that's,
there.
That's BM,
BM.
especially in LCS play. Don't do that ever. Team Impulse, by the way, you mentioned them in brief.
Yep.
They're playing pretty well. They had a sub 500 record not that long ago. They seem to have recovered a little bit.
A little bit.
Which is good for
Just
them.
a little
because
bit.
they were playing like shit for a while.
Wait. What do you mean a little bit? Because I'm pretty sure they're what in their last 5 games? How many wins do they have?
I don't know, 5.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think it's 5. Yeah,
I
believe.
think you're right.
They also went 4 and 5 before that. Just so we're kind of.
I don't care.
So it evens things out.
Yeah, it kind of evens things.
In the
it-
last
it more
5
than evens
games,
things out.
they're the best team in North America.
Wow.
That is a bold statement.
Except I'm pretty sure their last
Except-
5 games are against Team 8, Enemy, TDK,
Maybe Cloud9's in there somewhere.
and CLG.
CLG. An impressive win
That's
over
one of them.
CLG indeed. So what we talked about what's happening for Fnatic and for Gravity. Team Impulse now getting pretty high up there in the standings. What's changed for them? Because it looks to me, they still have just mad aggro play from Rush. We talked about how Rush is contractually obliged to follow every single Lee Sin queue.
What kind of contract did we talk
We
about?
do seriously believe, we have discussed this, we do
Yep.
believe that he did sell his soul to the devil and he has to take
No, he didn't sell his soul to the devil. He made a deal with the devil.
Where it's
basically
like
the same
basically
thing.
I'm going to land every queue.
No.
And
It's,
in response, I'm going to follow that.
No, it's that
It's not just
he's
landing the
he's
queue.
the greatest solo queue player of all
yeah,
time.
he will always be
Oh.
amazing in solo queue, but in exchange, he has to pick Lee Sin in LCS games, whenever he's like not banned, and he has to take every Lee Sin Q
Every
that he's
single
ever
Lee
hit.
Sin Q that he ever hits.
I watched
for the rest
both,
of his life, he has to take it.
I watched both matches on VOD again afterwards. He did not take one Q those
Okay.
entire times.
He
and
did
that
not
was
not take one Q.
In his defense,
took
I
every
would
Q?
have made the same deal.
Would you have?
I mean, I think it's a pretty. I think it's working out
It's
for
a fair deal,
Impulse.
honestly.
like when you talk about
It looks like
teams
it's
like
working.
Team Impulse that are based around this early game all or nothing aggression. It's really mentality. It's really dependent on mentality. And you see, like, when these players get in a groove, they really get in a groove. And when they fall out, they're so bad.
Well, especially when you play with such an aggro style as Tip often does. and as
Exactly.
Rush
It's
does,
like when you
know.
go for the level 2, tower dive with a Lee Sin Q into an ignite, like, there's so many things you could mess up if you're hesitating and thinking like, oh, well, this
Yeah,
didn't work last time and I'm
absolutely.
worried. And it seems like he's just gotten into that place because there isn't any big macro change that's like this team is really pulling together and improving, and they're not making like, these aren't better rotations. These aren't like, I see Apollo stepping up, but I don't see like any gigantic improvements within the team. It just feels like Rush has corrected a sort of hesitancy he's had, which, I mean, he goes in on every Q, but he doesn't necessarily stay there. He doesn't feel, he didn't seem super confident in his like early game
Does
plays.
Rush really hesitate even when he's playing bad? I don't know that he does. Honestly.
Well, no, he takes every Q he gets, but he doesn't like, let me ignite, auto attack, and then like ward hop into you so that I can get the last hit. It's always like, I'll Q in, take half my health and damage. Let me leave for now. This is a bad decision.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do that anymore. He goes in.
And I think his team is starting to sort of adapt to that, because a big part of playing that like extremely high pressure style is that it's a team decision, and it has to be a team decision, because if you have one person that's going ham, if you have one person that's going in all the time, and it's just that one person, then it's very easy to pick that one person out, and the team's easy to just take apart from there.
I mean, we even saw like level 5, level 4, like 5v5s, and if a single person isn't on the same page as everyone else, then your entire team has just been placed into a terrible position.
But like we saw Xiao this week, he was playing very aggressive. He was bullying people out of lane. He was playing like the Xiao that we've seen be a contender for MVP for 2 splits in a row. And that's so important for that team, that everyone is on the same page. And even Adrian and Apollo in the bottom lane were like playing really, really well this week in particular.
There was talks of replacing Adrian for Team Impulse. Now they've gone on a 5-game win streak. I guess that maybe changes things a little bit.
I
perhaps?
hope not.
Maybe.
He synergizes so well, especially with Rush, because like whenever Rush does the stupid things that Rush does, Adrian is always exactly there. He's never too far in. He's never too far out. He's always at the place he needs to be for that Alistar WQ. And we saw Dignitas try and pick a really anti-early game composition, like a composition designed to play as safe as possible, to stay back, and to mitigate Rush's like early game crazy bullshit. And it didn't matter because Adrian was there to like bring down the defenses, pop people out of
Absolutely.
towers. It was ridiculous.
No,
it was great.
It's just been, like you said, it hasn't been any like one thing that TIP has done. Like they haven't done any roster swaps, or they haven't made a huge change in the way that they play, but it just seems like everybody is more on the same page.
The mentality has come together.
And everyone has sort of bought into this style that's like, hey, we're TIP, we go in, we force fights. Like, that's who we are. Let's do it, and let's do it 100%. And
they drank the aggro Kool-Aid, and now they're on a 5-game win
Still haven't
streak.
seen quite the
Team
return to form of
Impulse
Xiao
plays
I like to see.
impulsive.
He's an MVP type player who has not played at quite that level yet.
Why didn't you say that was funny? She said they're playing much more impulsive.
Impulsively.
Got him.
Ha!
Much more impactful.
I guess you could say they have
Yeah. Too late.
Got him!
Too late. Got you.
Get wrecked, Keith.
Couldn't quite get there in time.
This is
Yeah.
why I'm not on the desk. It's
That's
because
okay.
I say things 3
Yep.
seconds too
Little
slow.
too
It's okay.
slow.
Me and Appa will keep you company
Your
right
pun
here.
game is
My pun
on the
game isn't
low.
on point.
I think Bianca's about to replace me, though, because you guys didn't like my one pun.
She's creeping up.
You're like the real life
My
Twitch
quirky.
play. The quirky. That was a terrible pun.
I thought it was. It wasn't really a pun. It was more like a play on words.
awful. So since you decided to speak so boldly, Stephen, let's talk about CLG.
your
CLG
favorite.
has just had like a terrible stretch of play.
I don't know what you're talking about. 2-0.
At one point, the number 1 team in the split.
They were the number 1 team in the 2 games they played this week.
They beat TDK. They beat TDK.
After a long struggle.
Yeah, we have a
They
clip.
pulled out
We have a
in a
clip
narrow win against
from
TDK.
CLG, much better than TDK, kind of.
We have a clip from CLG TDK, I believe, that we're going to show.
Oh God.
This game, this was the TDK throw moment right here. They had the Baron, they had the advantage, and I don't know what happened here. What was the thinking here?
Well, okay, so basically what you're seeing here is a train, and then it's wrecking, and then it's turning to end up be very, very bad for TDK. They're diving CLG, even though they're behind almost like more than 5,000 gold lead deficit, gold deficit, and they decide that it's in their best interest to just go on CLG underneath their inhibitor turret while they're getting pushed in top. And we actually see some good plays by Afremu here, doing that, that fancy Janna play that you love so much.
Yes.
Yep.
The sad
Picking up
part
the
is
Double.
the sad part of this entire fight is that if Emperor was not split from the rest of the team underneath CLG's inhibitor, I am not sure what the outcome of that fight would have been.
I don't even want to think about
That
it.
is sad. That is sad for some of us, I guess. Funny for the rest of us.
The fact that Emperor and Ninja ended with, did they both have like 2.0 KDAs or better? Like
I
they
didn't
were,
see.
like to be fair, Doublelift was 13-2, but that was a false statistic because
Afremu really was the difference maker, I think. He made some big plays.
Absolutely.
With Janna. Again, the Janna play is just...
I don't like Afremu on squishy champions because I want him to be the guy who goes in and does stuff and like he's always traditionally he's traditionally been, the people like Bard and Alistar, and here are these people who can like get in the middle of the enemy team and do something to render them completely immobile while Doublelift picks them apart from the side. And when he picked Janna, I said like specifically, I don't think that's a good idea for Afremu, but he pulled it off. Like
he did. He pulled off Janna very well.
He made it.
Yeah. What do you mean, Bianca? He's always gonna do stuff? Because I like where you're going with this.
Why don't you tell us about Afremu?
He's an effective support player. He is.
But
But
he is really
He always
doing
makes
stuff.
plays.
Yeah, he just finds a way to make a difference. And honestly, as much as I'm praising Afremu right now, I think a lot of the reason why they went through that period of struggle, the hashtag not golden age, where they were four games in a row losses, was because Afremu's play was slipping. Actually, I
don't think CLG knows what to do without Afremu.
Yeah, and when Afremu isn't the best player on CLG, similar to when TSM doesn't have Bjergsen carrying the game for them, I think CLG has the same problem in a very different way because Afremu is a support player. So it's interesting to have a support player be your carry.
A lot of discussion around CLG goes to Doublelift, goes to Pillbolter now because he's the new guy. Even Zion Spartan gets discussion, or Smithy because we should replace him. Afremu, he's not under the radar necessarily, but if you took him off this team, unless you're replacing him with Yellowstar or Lustboy or just like a really, really good Western support. I mean, I don't know who else could step in here and have this ship float.
Maybe.
I would partially disagree with the statement that CLG doesn't know what to do without Afremu. I do think he's a large part in their success. But when you think about like the kind of people that are on CLG, a lot of them kind of they take deference to Afremu, but without him they could still function. We see Zion Spartan make plays in every team he's in. It's just that in CLG, he has to play a bit differently because it's not about him. The game isn't about Zion Spartan. It's about the bot lane and about Pobelter. And he kind of gets, when Pobelter joined, he kind of got put back in the wings a little bit.
Yeah, and I think something to look out for CLG is like their team play is very weak. And we've seen that just in, through their losing streak. And when they were successful this week, it wasn't necessarily because they played well as a team. It was like, we saw Zion Spartan get really strong on Fizz, and he managed to just like do his Zion Spartan thing, and like Doublelift is like just doing his Doublelift thing, and like Pobelter is helping support. This week he played some more like support oriented, and then Afremu is like doing his team thing. But like if CLG wants to beat the teams that are better than them, that have better records than them, they're gonna have to learn how to coordinate better as a team, to play better in team fights, because we see the meta right now is actually shifting more towards these like team-oriented characters. Like you think about Twisted Fate, you think about Shen. You know, these are champions that are seeing a rise in popularity, and yeah, you see rise. That one wasn't even on purpose.
Yeah.
Right. But it's champions that require your team to all be on the same page in order for it to have any success at all.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot more global presence. There's a lot more there's a lot more emphasis on picks and about we'll have TF and Shen all come up as, the Nautilus runs around for a lane gank and will be in a 4v1 because that's what it takes. That's what it takes to get a kill in, a solo lane where you have a tank meta so entrenched that, like, everyone has, like, 3,000 health.
Yeah, we see that the TF Shen comp, now we just need Tom Kinch, and we'll have a true global team.
Yeah, exactly. Tom Kinch is going to fit right in because the dude's got globals for days.
By the way, if that champ, I don't know when that champ's getting enabled, but he is broken.
He will be. I predict bans because
I think he'll be like 100% banned.
This isn't like Bard, where you're talking about a character who has so many mechanics in place that not a lot of people are willing to learn him to the fullest. Tom Kench does not have magical journey and like meep like micro.
No, he's
just hop in my belly.
He eats people. Yep. He teleports globally and takes allies with him. The dude,
he's tanky.
His damage scales off of tankiness, and he has 2 life bars essentially.
I'm
the dude's
not actually
crazy.
sure when they're fixing it, but I know right now you can chain his ult and Kallista's ult so that you can bring Tom Kench and 2 others.
I just hope that they find a bug with him so that he gets disabled.
Is that not a bug?
No, I'm serious.
How noble
I'm
of
serious.
you, Steven.
I hope Riot creates a bug so that Tom Kench cannot be played until they know
I would
his
not be
stats.
surprised if they did, or they find something overpowered and then call it a bug. It's like,
well,
we found a bug.
There was
guys.
that hot fix that they could have left in about Tom Kench using summoner spells infinitely.
Oh yeah. I actually, when that came out,
if they left that in, they could have banned him. I'm just saying.
No, hopefully that patch didn't, because I just don't want to see. I mean, as much as I do want to see Tom Kench, I don't want to just see, because right now there's a big problem I think in the pick and ban phase, and I think there's just a big problem with like the way that champions are balanced in general right now. And unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to like see a change because Riot doesn't want to change things up a lot right before playoffs. So like this very much could be the meta that we see on through Worlds. Unfortunately, because we were talking when we were watching the games.
Corki, like that's.
Oh yeah. Well, because it's like right now it's like Kalista and Sivir. If one of them is banned, you have to ban the other one because they're the only AD carries who do anything right now. And it's like, okay, I mean, not completely useless AD carries and Jinx or like Ashe or there's other people who do
Jinx,
something.
When you compare Jinx to Kalista,
exactly.
There's definitely a large downgrade.
Yeah, and then we have the same jungle picks over and over again. We have, Rek'Sai, we have Gragas.
It's like we have some sort of meta game or something that's been established.
No, but
part
it
of the meta
is
here
so
actually
stale.
Is
the meta right now is so stale.
At every position, you have to be able to play Nautilus. No matter what position you play, you must be able to play Nautilus.
Support,
Nautilus
jungle,
is currently a flex.
Support.
Fun fact, Nautilus is currently a flex pick for 4 roles because I have seen Nautilus mid work.
At the LCS level?
At high level. I won't say LCS.
With the pros, with the challenger level?
With challenger level, yeah.
Okay.
I feel like we're more likely to see Nautilus mid than we are to see Swain. But
I've seen Garen.
That was. Oh, you're hurting. You're hurting.
Hey, there was a Rengar and a Diana pick in the same game.
Oh wow,
this week.
lord it over. Lord it over.
There
There was an Olaf ban though.
Of course.
I think there was a couple actually.
Got
there was one in EU and there was one in NA.
Because he's the dude. The dude is like actually powerful right now.
Yeah, he fits the right way because he can get into the back line. You can't see him.
He can chunk tanks. You can't CC him, and he can get into the back line without any opposition at all.
Yeah, interestingly enough, TSM decided to ban Olaf instead of Azir against Phoenix, who's been extremely good on that champion all split.
I won't say the Olaf bans were smart, but they had a place.
They were bans.
TSM?
They were technically bans.
Team.
I saw bans take place.
Darshan?
So there was that to look forward to. Gravity Gaming, in the playoffs, let's kind of narrow it down here for Gravity. Can they be the #1 team through the playoffs in best of 3 series?
I think
place.
their major contender right now is TSM because Team Liquid, as strong as they are, don't really perform historically.
What, you're just going to ignore 3 other teams?
Well, when it comes to, if you were to tell me who's the team that's going to be against Gravity in the finals for playoffs,
Wait,
I would say
we're just
TSM.
giving
If
Gravity an
makes
automatic.
I'm not even sure they make finals, honestly.
Yeah,
I would
that-
say
I don't think they do.
Gravity, if they don't fold under the pressure of it being playoffs, they have a decent, if not good, chance of making it to finals.
See, unfortunately, though, we have seen some less than clutch play from Gravity. What comes in my mind is a
unlike
particular
the other
game.
teams, unlike the other teams of NA,
Well-
known for their very on point, consistent across the board play
You know,
with
I'm
no
not
mistakes
actually sure
whatsoever.
if Gravity's doing well or if everyone else is just doing poorly.
Gravity's doing well, and other teams are doing poorly.
Yeah,
It's kind of
the
like
best of both worlds, really.
Yeah.
Gravity playing well
or
and
the
everyone
wor-
else being
the
awful.
worst of both.
Yes. Now that we've lost Cloud9, we have kind of lost the last consistent team. In
Yeah,
this,
there's
this
like
particular region.
actually another spot in the finals to play against TSM this split.
Yeah, Cloud9 will not be in the finals. I feel pretty confident about that. They will. The streak is broken.
But we have high back.
That's a bold prediction, Jared.
That's the thing, though, is that High Jungle is I like him, but he's not effective yet.
I'm
Hey,
actually
they
really
look better.
surprised
They look
Meteos
great.
got
They look
knocked out
better.
before
if you compare
Incarnation.
them to the way they were for the past 5 weeks, they look great. But I mean, I'm talking last season's Cloud9 or the 3 seasons. I don't know.
I'm just still really surprised Meteos was out before Incarnation was.
Or
I saw-
Lemon.
Meteos seems to be doing pretty well. I saw him stream for a lot of hours. He's playing League 24/7.
I actually
basically.
I
Yes,
played some games with him.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Some normal games at 7 in the
I
morning.
heard you got flamed by him.
Yeah.
Well, I called the team. I said that the other team had a toxic team composition.
I heard that he called you a bad
And,
player at certain points.
Well, okay,
He said
whoa,
you were-
whoa, whoa. Hold on.
Where was I when all of this happened?
Meteos never called me a
He
bad
said you were
player.
terrible, and then you quit the server because you.
Shout
were
outs to Meteos, flame Steven on Twitter if you.
Yep.
Yeah. Just get in line, Meteos. I mean,
Steven,
everyone else
bread and
flames
water
Steven already. You know?
Yep. Various social medias.
Join the club.
Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. just all kinds of
MySpace.
Zanga,
Go to Smain's MySpace page and flame him there.
Duke Dude 8637.
Yeah. By the way, I want to go
I
back to the EU region for a bit because we're also being Fanatics in the final. Let's recalibrate the game one more time. We talked about this a few weeks ago. Who meets Fnatic in the final? Because I don't think anyone below them looks that capable of just making a run through the play. Someone has to. Someone has to play Fnatic in the final.
It's boring, but I'm gonna choose Origin because they look a lot less shaky than the other teams going on around there.
Origin. That's funny because that's the team I picked to go to Worlds.
H2K does not look too great right now. I've been
H2K
disappointed.
has been slipping.
I've been disappointed.
It's not that I still see a lot of good stuff out of Kasing, but Ryu hasn't been doing what I want him to do.
It's kind of a reversion. Ryu was not fitting with the team when he first came to H2K, and then they were patient with it. He got in there, and H2K had a great streak towards the end of the spring split. Now we're getting towards the end of the summer split.
It feels like he's
and
regressing.
It's a regression. It's you're supposed to be fitting in with the team now, and you're a part of it, and you're really making the things happen. Now it's kind of not really happening so much anymore. It's like the Zhao Zhao effect.
See, that's the problem
It's sad.
with beating teams with macro play. Is if you are relying on
What you're saying
out-rotating
H2K
teams.
does. H2K
Yeah,
does
I mean,
this.
that's their strength, right? H2K, when they're playing well, they're playing, they're out-rotating their opponents. They're picking really favorable fights. And the problem with that is that we haven't really seen in the West yet a team be able to keep up that play style for an extended period of time. I think the first time we're really seeing it now is with Fnatic, actually.
Who are also just the best players,
Yeah,
it
like
would
Fan-
seem. So it doesn't really matter if
Feels
they're
like exactly.
out-rotated. They have the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and H2K, we never really saw that dominant laning phase that can just bail them out of games and get free wins, right? That's a lot about being consistent, is being able to just get free wins. And that's why when CLG struggles against TDK so much, you really start to question them, because it's look, this should just be a free victory for you. You should be able to go in, play standard, and beat the other team straight up, because you're just better than them.
Well, we saw as soon as TDK got into team fights in that game, they started struggling because they just don't have the chemistry, they don't have the teamwork necessary to compete in high-level
They
team
haven't
fights.
been here all split.
And
Yes.
that's the
That
part.
was why.
That's the part about H2K that's traditionally been the best part of them, is that when it gets into team fights, they have consistent focus, and they seem to know what they're doing. They never get caught out. They never get split up. You see other teams, even Fnatic ends up getting split up 3-2 in weird situations. And then here's H2K, and they seem pretty flawless about it. But recently, they just make mistakes they didn't make before. And like categories that I've been like, okay, here's a team that is really good at X. Now they're not.
I have this sinking feeling that H2K is headed towards whatever the first round is for them, probably the first round, not getting a bye because Fnatic and Origin should get those. I have this feeling they're going to lose in the first round. It's the upset. I just have this feeling. It's a bad feeling for me right now.
The three teams, the three teams that are looking to
I don't like it.
sneak into the playoffs in Europe
I
right
don't like
now
it, Steven.
are.
I don't like it.
Are you done?
Yeah.
I have to ask. Do have to ask though. Do you like it?
No.
The three teams right now that are sneaking in: Giants Gaming, Gambit Gaming, and another team.
Unicorns is around
7-7.
Actually, are they even sneaking? They could finish
They're kind of like prancing
with the Unicorns record from last split. They could equal their old record, and then make a charge to the final, play Fnatic, just repeat it all over again.
But I think it's very possible.
happening. No, I see
I think
it.
it's very possible that H2K loses to any one of those teams. I mean, all three of those teams have had these like sort of flashes of brilliance where they've looked really good.
To lose the Rocat.
Yeah, even Rocat. I mean, so I think that EU is really up in the air. I think a lot of it is going to come down to how the bracket is set up.
When we say EU, we mean other than Fnatic.
Yeah,
To be
like
clear,
second through sixth place, really second through like eighth place or ninth place even.
any place not Copenhagen Wolves or Fnatic.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, that has not worked out too well for Wolves. The move to the fresh rookies.
I mean,
didn't really.
It was kind of desperation in the first place, so I don't think they expected everything
they had
to
to
turn
fill
around.
some roster spots basically, and there you go.
I won't miss them when they go. I'll put it that way.
We talk about Fnatic, by the way, being so dominant and the great accomplishments they've already had. What about poor Steelback now landing with Imagine, I believe, in the Challenger Series in North America? That's a bit of a fall for the poor ADC.
yeah, it's pretty interesting too because I think we all thought he was going to land on his feet a little more than.
At least more than that.
Yeah.
Than
I mean, he's not reckless, but he has LCS level play. I saw him as an AD carry who, although maybe a little bit more passive than he should be, is someone who could play at the LCS level fairly well.
The problem with Steelback though is
just wasn't able to make anything out of it.
he's a low mechanics player that plays the most mechanically intensive role. So in that sense, you kind of wonder because like the number one thing that people when you're in silver. The number one thing that people want you to do when you're playing AD carry is be able to CS well, which is like something that Steelback can't do. And like that's a big problem when you're trying to play AD carry.
Relative, of course, to the level of competition he faces at the the professional scene.
I mean, if your support can last hit better than you, I feel confident that Yellowstar could last hit better than Steelback. That causes an issue.
But that's not fair. Yellowstar can do a lot of things better than I think most players.
Well, and he used to play AD carry.
He is
as well,
Yellowstar, and he's former ADC. He's Yellowstar.
Yeah, but I think Reckless can
nice
probably
standard of
CS better than
Elimination
Yellowstar.
should retire and then put Steelback as support for Cloud9.
No. Where does High
Because he
go?
can't farm.
I don't know. Stay in the jungle.
High
actually. Maybe just stay in the jungle.
High goes to mid lane because now we see that he can play the mechanically intensive champions
And then
like
his wrists
Rengar.
fall apart again.
Yes.
And then Incarnation goes to support because apparently he likes playing support style mid laners.
Can we just get rid of Incarnation yet?
And then Meteos goes back into
We saw
jungle.
Incarnation do pretty decent, actually. Can we
I'm
talk about
still
that?
not
On
a fan.
Orianna?
Everyone's been shitting on Incarnation since the beginning.
yeah, 'cause-
second
Why
he
is
showed up.
that?
Because Incarnation's
I
been
know he's
shitting
playing,
on everyone.
He's been playing bad, but his Orianna play this week was actually really decent. And I think it is hilarious that in their rush to move away from their support style mid laner, they found a support style mid laner because he seems to play Orianna better than anyone he previously tried out with offensive tactics, like by a wide margin.
So what you're telling me is their high mechanics mid laner is very low mechanics and good at playing support style champions. Oh wait, but High is better and his wrist doesn't seem to be that bad because he's playing
And
again.
it's a shot caller.
Wait, so why did we get Incarnation again? Like, 'cause
Exactly.
right now you have Meteos sitting on the bench who is probably
Well, to be
one
fair,
of the
I did say like he probably couldn't move back into move back into mid lane just because like that's a bit more of an
Clicky.
intensive role than say jungle.
I'm not buying it.
We'll see. I don't see High going back to mid lane.
I
at
don't-
all,
I don't
by
see
the way.
that.
No,
I don't
there's no
see it.
way. There's no way.
He's not
I
going
just
back
find
to
it
mid
hard
lane.
to believe that Incarnation hasn't been toxic throughout the season.
Yeah. No, seriously.
What can he say though? Like, what are you
Yeah.
gonna say if you're Incarnation? Like,
I mean, there's
sorry
not a-
guys.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
like-
it was just such a bad thing.
I
It's like, oh,
apologize.
there's not,
How
there's
they're
not enough
doing
ganks.
lately.
They were ganking you all the time. Like, oh, I'm getting camped.
No,
Not-
but that's
not
the
really.
thing
They're
about being a
leaving you alone.
toxic player. You're not saying anything right. You're just saying mean, negative, deflecting things. And I'm really surprised that
He's
wasn't
like,
a
it's okay,
problem."
guys. I'll call my goon squad and we can DDoS the other team.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
wait.
Shots fired.
And that's not toxic.
Oh,
That's just an
wait.
order. That's not really toxic. That's a command that he would give to his friends.
This team composition is so toxic.
Well done. I think that about does it for all the time we have today. Hope you enjoyed the show, or at
Medios,
least
I'm
most of
sorry.
it. You might have not enjoyed specific parts of it, but I hope you enjoyed most of the show.
What?
If you like the show, if you like my talking with Richard Lewis, if you like esports, please follow the channel. Press the little heart.
You
down
got it
there.
right the first time.
Follow the channel. I know I'm really good at this. Actually, follow the channel down there. It's down there somewhere.
No, that direction.
If you like the episode, you missed part of it. On YouTube, Esports, you find full VODs there of every show we do. Very important to remember that. Twitter and Facebook, .esports. Back here tomorrow with Sam Lingle and Ian Barker to discuss some more juicy esports topics. Delicious. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.